Hi, my name is Lisa Thiel. I've been teaching yoga at the Gathering Place for several years, and I invite you to join our class. I'm going to give you a sampling of that class today, which is typically about an hour long, but today we'll have about a half an hour practice. I'd like to begin by just sharing with you how I feel about yoga. I believe that yoga is for everyone, absolutely for everyone. No matter how we feel, what's going on in our life, there's always some way to practice yoga in some form. And in our class, we have people from all different stages of their cancer treatment, different types of cancer. We even have caregivers often join the class. And I encourage and give adaptations for everyone to, find where they need to work, to find what meets their individual needs in every single class. So with that being said, I invite you to join our practice and take care of yourself. So adapt and modify all of the postures to suit where you need to work today. We're going to begin seated, so you can sit in a chair and you can stay here the entire time. You don't have to get up if that's where you need to work today. If you have a yoga mat and you are comfortable getting on and off the floor and that's not a concern for you, go ahead and sit on the floor, but I would recommend that you sit on something to elevate the hips, like a yoga block or blankets, a pillow, bolster, something like that. When we elevate the hips, the spine is a lot happier. If we're sitting on the floor and slouching like this, the knees lift and then the spine's not so happy, respiration's not so good. So take a moment to find your seated posture with a nice long spine. Ideally, we want a little inward curve in our low back so that the spine can get taller and breath can flow more freely. And I invite you to close your eyes. If that's not comfortable for you, just cast a soft gaze downward. And we're going to take a moment to just go inside and check in with ourselves. So just notice how you feel today. Notice if there's any areas that are talking to you, that need a little extra love and attention. And maybe some areas that are feeling really open today and just ready to go. Check in with your mental state and your energy level. And perhaps just make an intention to meet your needs in practice today. And maintaining this long, tall spine, I'm going to have us do a breath meditation practice to start with. So really tune into your breath. Notice all aspects of your breath. And we're going to do the elliptical Ferris wheel breath. Basically, we imagine as though we're inhaling up the front of the spine and exhaling down the back of the spine. Inhale up the front of the spine and exhale down the back of the spine. So you can imagine, if you've ever seen a Ferris wheel turning, when it gets to the top, there's no jerking motion when it switches directions. It's a nice and smooth transition. So try and smooth out the transition of your breath each time. Inhale up the front, nice smooth transition into the exhale down the back. And the inhale up the front. So do this for a few rounds on your own. And then when you're ready, I'm going to blink the eyes with breath. So inhale a little bit open with the eyes and exhale closed, just to begin integrating the inner and the outer experience. When you're ready, keep the eyes open. And we'll start with some movements in some of the major joints of the body. So let's just start with the hands and the wrists. So basic circulation, just moving the hands around at the wrists and trying to get a lot of movement in the fingers and hands as well. And then going the other direction as well. Trying to feel all the joints, getting a little movement in all the joints, and then shake them out. Shake them out. And we'll do 1 foot at a time. So extend one leg and keep the heel down as needed, or lift it if that feels good for you. And just circle the foot around. Very simple, just feeling all the joints in the ankle, the foot, the toes. And then go the other direction as well. Place that foot down, go to the other. You might hear some Rice Krispies. And rest that foot down. Then we're just going to take the fingertips and rest them right on our shoulders, and just take a moment to just find our shoulders and feel our shoulders. And we'll do some movement with the elbows coming up the front, circling around, and then going down the back. And as you're doing this, you might notice that one of your shoulders feels a little cranky today. And if that's the case, you might be better off doing kind of one at a time, like you're swimming your elbows. So that's another possibility. And then rest your hands in your lap and check in again. Let's take one hand to the head. I'm going to mirror you. So let's start with the left hand on your head. And the right hand can hold on to the chair seat or just kind of reach down. We're just going to arc to the right side and get some opening on that left side, the rib cage, the sideways. Try not to let your hip lift. You want to get that opening in the side body. And you want to make sure your eyes are staying on the horizon. So don't look down, don't hurt the neck. We're going to keep the eyes on the horizon. And you can just stay here and breathe into that side body stretch on the left side, or extend your arm out over your head, palm down. Trying not to let the arm pop in front of your face. But make sure your shoulder feels okay with that. Breathing, breathing, breathing. And then we'll come back up and go to the other side. Right hand behind your head. A little tipping over like a teapot, tipping to the side. Remember to keep your gaze on the horizon so that we're not hurting the neck and pushing the head down. Breathing into that side body stretch, and if it feels okay for your shoulder, extending your arm. Lots of breath into that side body, into the right side of the rib cage. Getting more space in the rib cage, more movement for the lungs, better breathing. And then come back up, rest your hands. Do some gentle movement for the neck. Exhaling, turning the head to look out over a shoulder. Inhale, center, and exhale the other shoulder. Inhale, center. Keep going with your own rhythm. So don't try and match my breathing rhythm, but move with your own rhythm. Try and finish on your second side and return to center. So we're going to do something that I call the tension dissipation breath. And we're just going to take our arms and they're going to kind of trace our breath, the movement. We'll inhale 3 sips through the nostrils. And then when you exhale, sighing out the mouth as you lower your arms. So do that several times with your own rhythm. 3 sips through the nostrils as the arms mimic the breath. Like you're fogging a mirror. Do a few rounds on your own. Let's do one more. And then pause and notice how you feel. Notice your body's response to that breathing exercise. So if you're working on the floor, go ahead and lie down in what I call integration pose. So that's knees bent, feet on the floor, and your back and head on the floor. But you can do all this sitting in a chair. And what we're going to do is just bring one knee up into your chest. So let's start with the left knee. And you can put your hands on the sides of the thigh, below the thigh, underneath the knee, below the knee, in front, whatever suits you. And you're going to bring that knee in, and this is going to be an exhale. When you inhale, lower that foot and bring the arms above the shoulders. And remember, if your shoulders want you to bend your elbows, bend your elbows. And then we'll switch to the other side. So exhale, hugging a knee in. Inhale, opening up. So keep moving with your breathing rhythm. And we really want to work on synchronizing breath and movement. So the breath should end when the movement ends. So you might have to lengthen out your breath a bit, make it a little smoother, a little longer. And in yoga, we mostly breathe through the nostrils, but if there's some congestion then, or any other reason, it's understandable to breathe through your mouth. But see if you can breathe through the nostrils. It gives you a little more control over lengthening the breath and making it nice and smooth. And then come to your stopping point, checking in again. And we're going to begin doing some strengthening. Strengthening is a very individual experience, so make sure you find where you need to work in the pose. And I'm going to start off with the friendliest version. So if you're sitting in a chair, go ahead and come to sitting at the edge. If you're working on the floor, go ahead and come to standing. And you can do the same posture from standing. And all we're going to do is march. We're just marching. So if you're standing, obviously it'll look like this. You can hold on to a chair with your hand. I'm just going to lift one knee at a time. Beginning to build some strength in these leg muscles. And we'll add a little bit of brain yoga to it. Tapping, opposite hand to knee. So left hand, right knee, right hand, left knee. Helps the two hemispheres of the brain communicate more effectively, these contralateral actions. And if this feels really comfortable for you, either from sitting in a chair or standing, you might want to add a leg extension when you tap. And come to a pause. Another check-in. And we're going to explore some options in a yoga pose called chair pose, which is traditionally done standing. But if you are working sitting in a chair, then we're going to do chair pose in an actual chair. And I'll show you some different options that you might want to explore. So I call this basically sit to stand. So you can hold on to the chair seat. If you have another chair nearby or a table or counter, this might be good practice to hold on to something else and just practice lifting and lowering. So that might be your chair pose, lifting and lowering and taking rests as needed. If you are standing, turn to the sides, you can see a little better. We bend the knees and hinge at the hips, and we keep that spine really long so we're not collapsing like this. A really long spine. And you're going to find where your arms want to go. So bringing the arms out to the side is really nice. You might want to bring your arms straight up, a little more energetic. You might want to put your hands in front of the heart. So play around with the options. I like to bring my arms out to the side. And if you're finding that you have a lot of energy today and you want to build more strength, squat down even more and breathe. But it's really important to check in with your breath. If you're finding that you're holding your breath, you're working a little too hard, you want to soften, maybe come up a little bit. Make sure that breath is flowing sweetly, smoothly, evenly. And then come back up to mountain pose, standing mountain or seated mountain. Take a few breaths and check in. And then we're going to play around with a balance pose, which can be done sitting in your chair, can be done standing with no extra support, or kind of an in-between would be to have your hand on a chair for support. And I call this baby tree or sapling pose. And you're just going to take a heel and bring it to the inside of the other ankle. And again, you're going to do whatever suits you with the arms. I find it useful to bring my arms out to the side, and I do this little mudra called Jnana Mudra, which is the Wisdom Mudra. It helps me balance really well. You want to make sure that hip is not popping out, so keep that hip buttoned in. And again, you might want to bring your arms up or come into a prayer position like this. A few options to possibly deepen the work. If you're interested in deepening today, you could take long, slow blinks. Or if you're feeling really steady, close your eyes. But that's only if you're feeling really steady today. If you're feeling like you want to take it up to another level, open your eyes, and you might even put your foot to wrap around your lower leg muscle like this. And bring that foot down, and we'll pause before we do the other side. Other heel comes to rest on the inner ankle. Find the arm position that works for you and button that hip in, so we don't want to, harm the joints and ligaments. So keep that hip buttoned in. Find your arm position. And again, you might want to do those slow blinks to get a taste of what it's like to close the eyes. See if that feels okay for you. If it feels okay and you're really steady, close the eyes. Remember, you can always hold onto a wall or chair or stay sitting in your chair. If you feel really steady today, open the eyes and wrap the foot around your calf muscle. Make sure your breath is flowing. You're not over concentrating and holding the breath. And then bring that foot down. Mountain pose or seated mountain. And let's do some easy waist twists. So you can do this sitting in the chair. It'll just look like this. Hopefully you don't have arms on your chair and you have a little more room. If you do have arms, you just bend the elbows and can do it like this. But we want to keep a really, really long spine and let the arms just flow side to side like empty sweater sleeves. And if you're standing, you want to make sure you don't lock the knees. So lift a heel as you go and keep the knees soft. You might even tap a shoulder and an opposite kidney just to loosen up the spine and the torso. and ease back to center. So if you're standing, we're going to come into warrior two legs, which can also be done in the chair. I'll show you in a moment. But we come into a slightly wider stance, and I'll have you turn the left foot inward at about 45 degrees, and the right foot's in line with your yoga mat, and the right knee is right above your ankle. So this is warrior two legs. And you can do the same thing in a chair. It'll depend on your chair and the length of your legs, obviously, and you can keep a bend in that knee as needed. So this could be another option for your warrior two. Or you can do this with the wall behind you for kind of an in-between pose. And we're going to take this left hand as if we're holding a beach ball in front of us, and the right hand on top holding the beach ball from the other end. And when you inhale, you're going to lean back in the direction of that left leg. When you exhale, you're turning the ball and leaning towards the bent leg. You can also sit in the chair and just do the upper body portion. That's fine. Or if you want to deepen the work slightly, you can straighten the arms and have that left hand rest on the left leg. And this is a reverse warrior. That's your inhale, and then your exhale would be what's called side angle pose. Right elbow to your right knee or thigh, and the left arm is out over your head, or again, you can do that teapot version if your shoulder prefers that. So take a moment to find your work in this, what I call warrior vinyasa. So reverse warrior to side angle, or we're just turning that beach ball. It's a bit of a softer movement. And your goal is to keep that knee nice and steady. It's going to want to wobble around, but we're working on building some strength there. Come back up when you're ready, and we're going to shift on the feet to the other direction. So now the right foot turns at about a 45-degree angle, left foot in line with your mat, and we bend that left knee. Trying to keep the knee above your ankle. Right hand underneath the ball, left hand on top. Inhale, we lean back to that back right leg. Exhale, we turn the ball in the other direction. And you can keep moving with this beach ball. Or you can straighten your arms. Right hand rests on the right thigh for the inhale. This is reverse warrior. And exhale, side angle pose. Whichever version you're doing, be aware of that knee. It's going to want to bend and straighten and wobble front to back. We want to keep it as steady as possible. Whenever you're ready, we'll come back up, pivot on the feet, and then step the feet together and do just a little more marching, just a little bit of marching in place. So this next pose, if you're sitting in a chair, you're going to want to have your knees a little bit wider to allow some space for a forward fold. And if you have a yoga block or a book or bolster or footstool, you can set that in front of you, and it just helps bring the floor up a little higher. And if you're doing this in a standing posture, just going to come to mountain pose with parallel feet. So check your feet, make sure the inner edges are parallel, the heels are right below your hips, and we extend through the arms, extend through the fingertips, and really enliven the fingertips. Bring the shoulders back behind you and lift the heart. This is your inhale. And then when you exhale, we're just going to soften the knees. And you can bring your hands to a block, to a chair, or to the floor. And then we inhale back up into this expansion pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, expanding through those fingertips. Don't forget on the exhale to soften the knees. And I'll show you the version sitting in a chair. Remember, you have your knees a little wider. Inhale, lift the heart, trying to get the heart in front of the shoulders. And then we exhale, bringing the hands to the floor, whatever's lifting the floor up for us, or even to the elbows. And again, you're moving with the rhythm of your own breath. Trying to synchronize breath and movement. Next time you exhale into that forward fold, maybe you stay there for a few breaths. And if you feel dizzy at all, get your head above the heart. But find whatever your forward fold pose is and take a little time, just get some tension out of the neck, maybe some yeses with the head, a little bit of no, but then ending with yes. And then come back up to your expansion pose. And let's bring the arms up above us. Sometimes when we are in a forward fold position, we get lymph pooling around the wrist. Let's shake it out, just shake it out. Help blood and lymph flow towards the heart. And then rest your hands. So we're going to do a couple of cool downs. And if you're working on the mat, I'll show you that version first. I would invite you to come down into integration pose. So this is integration pose, knees bent, feet on the floor, hips on the floor, back supported, and you can have a pillow under your head as needed. And I'm just going to hug the knees in and do a little bit of sweet rocking from side to side. And this could be your twist. Or you might bring your arms out to the sides. Keep the knees into the chest and exhale, knees towards the opposite side. Inhale, center, and continue the other side. So that might be your version of twist. If you are working in the chair, I'll show you a couple options for that. You could do a nice, simple one. Remember to get the spine tall first. When you're on the floor, you don't have to think about that as much, but in the chair, make sure you're not slouching when you twist. Extend the spine and do some nice, gentle twists that suit your body. You can bring the head towards the front or towards that back shoulder. You might want to explore them both and see what suits you. And then go to the other side. Very simple twist, soaring spine. If you want to deepen it a little bit, you can turn off to the side if you don't have armrests there and hold on to the back of your chair, and then you can kind of use your hands to aid that twist. But make sure that it feels okay for your spine. And while you're in your twist, breathe deeply, massaging all those spinal discs, massaging the abdominal organs. Of course, if you do that on one side, make sure you do it on the other. Tall spine, lots of breath. And then come back to center. One of the poses that I like to do as a cool down is a butterfly pose. So if you're lying down, you would just bring the soles of your feet together and your knees wide. And if you're sitting in a chair, it's always good to have something else nearby, like a step stool, yoga block, something that'll lift the floor up a little higher. And you can do the same pose from a chair. Come to the edge of the seat, bring the soles of your feet together and your knees wide. But make sure you get that spine tall and breathe. Butterfly pose is really useful for a lot of reasons. It's said to increase circulation to the whole lower body, and it feels really good for the hips, get that hip opening, and it brings the spine into a nice neutral posture. So it's a good pose to do at the end of class. Whenever you're ready, you'll come out of your butterfly pose, bring the soles of your feet back to the floor. And I always invite everyone to just kind of scan their own body and see, what do I need to complete my practice today? What is still kind of, twinging and talking to me? And just wiggle in a playful way that helps work out that residual tension. So find a pose that suits you. If you're lying on the floor, you might want to come into happy baby if you're familiar with that, or just any kind of what I call mindful movement. And if you're sitting in a chair, you might want to do one that I'm feeling called to do right now, where we bring our arms into a cactus posture, or a field goal pose, whichever works for you. Inhale your heart, bring your shoulders together behind you, and then when you exhale, bring a hand to an opposite shoulder and take a little bow in front, a slight rounding of the spine, and then inhale, open back up, lift the heart. Other arm on top when you come back to that exhale posture. This little flexion and extension for the spine can feel really good at the end of a practice. Lots of breath. And then come back to a nice neutral spine, a comfortable posture, but not too comfortable. We don't want to slouch and collapse. And we're going to come into our final posture of the day, which is called Shavasana, or deep relaxation. And there are so many ways to do Shavasana. It's traditionally done fully supine, which means lying on your back with your legs nice and long. But you can also bend your knees and keep your feet on the floor in integration pose, or lying down, you bring your knees together and your feet wide. It's really restful for the legs. Or if you're sitting in a chair, you might want to put something behind you to help your spine stay nice and tall, a jacket, a pillow, a blanket, so that you can keep the spine tall with the least amount of effort. And once you've found your Shavasana posture, we're going to revisit the elliptical Ferris wheel breath. So we imagine as though we're inhaling up the front of the spine and exhaling down the back. And your job is to make those transitions as smooth as possible. Within the inhale lies the seed that just naturally gives way into the exhale, and vice versa. And keep the concentration soft and easy, so the forehead is relaxed, the eyes are relaxed, the jaw and neck are relaxed. And I invite you to spend a few moments just with your breath. If the mind wanders, which minds often do, we compassionately just reorient, bring our awareness back to the breath again and again. Without changing anything with your posture or your vision, we're just going to deepen the breath. How does that deeper inhale and that deeper exhale feel? And whenever you're ready, begin to add transitional movements into the body, maybe some head turns, a little bit of wiggling the fingers and the toes, moving the wrists and the wrists and the ankles around a little bit. And if you're lying on the floor, go ahead and draw the knees up into your chest and rock sweetly a few times side to side. And then turn to rest on whichever side is calling you, supporting your head with your arm or with a pillow. And try not to get up too quickly. You don't want to jar the nervous system and erase our practice. So take a few breaths where you are. And then very gradually start to shift up to a seated posture. And we'll inhale the arms wide and up. Palms touch up above us, and we exhale to the brows and the heart center. Thank you for joining our practice today. If you would like more information about yoga at the Gathering Place or any of the other services, please go to the Gathering Place website that is touchedbycancer.org. Thank you.